¿Qué tal? Yo soy Aaron Cortés de Me Hace Ruido y en esta ocasión nos acompaña Dylan Fraser. Él es un nuevo músico cuyas canciones no han dejado de sonar en la BBC y que incluso forma parte del soundtrack de la nueva edición de FIFA. Está aquí para contarnos más sobre su EP debut y cómo es ser talento emergente en plena pandemia. Pero antes me gustaría invitarlos a que se suscriban para que vean más entrevistas como esta y a que visiten el enlace de la descripción para que conozcan más sobre este proyecto, así como una playlist que el mismísimo Dylan hizo para todos ustedes. Can you tell us more about this first EP?
So this EP is called The Storm, and I like to think of the storm as like my headspace and my brain, um, because I think everyone has those crazy times in their head, and then they feel good, and then they don't feel so good, and then they're excited or they're happy or they're sad, and I like to think I wanted to conceptualize that and all your emotions in some way, and for me, I see it almost as a storm. You have like the calm moments of the storm, you have the crazy ones, and all that kind of stuff. And I think this EP really covers just like growing up and like reminiscing about being a child and then growing up in your teenage years and the anxiety and depression of that and the great moments of that as well. And I think this EP really covers me kind of growing up and maybe realizing that like the world isn't this big shiny happy place.
Okay. I also think that the first EP from few artists are really special because having you have like more freedom to do
Mm-hmm.
whatever you want before having those advanced expectations and trying not to sell out a number one debut record or something
Yeah.
because it's more like this is who the band or the artist are.
Mhm.
So how does it work for you? Because like you said, this is about growing up and having your very own perspective of the world. Now you are like pulling it out.
Yeah, I think for me, I think like with this first EP, you're right about the first EP is important for a new artist, and I think I didn't put too much pressure on the first EP. I just was writing how I was feeling and what I wanted to write, and I didn't really think too much about how it was going to sound. And then once I sat back and I looked at the full project as a whole, it all made sense, even though it goes through so many different genres and there's genres combined because I listen to so much music, so I could never be just one genre. So I think, yeah, for me, this first project was really just experimenting, and this sort of this. I think this first project defines the sound and what is to be expected or to not be expected from me in future releases.
How long have you been working on this EP?
So I started writing this EP in October last year, and I finished all the writing and stuff in January, and I think the EP was completely finished in like maybe February or March of this year.
You had to push it back due to quarantine.
Yeah, so I wanted to release it before I turned 19, which would have been September, the start of September. Um, but I'm actually glad I didn't release it then because we wouldn't have been ready. And obviously, coronavirus and all this crazy stuff happened in the past couple of months. But it's kind of been good because it's given me time to perfect everything, make sure everything is right and ready to release. So yeah.
There's these things going on around the world, and you as a new artist, because I've seen that in the UK they really support new artists at venues and festivals. So would you say it's hard in a way to do like the start of the campaign from a new artist when there's no live music?
It's definitely a hurdle for sure. You can definitely get your music out there and on more people's eyes if you're doing live shows. So it's definitely sad that I can't do that right now. But I think it's about, I think during this time it's all about finding ways to adapt to the situation that we have right now. So I've seen some people are doing like live stream shows and using different like VR and virtual reality and those kind of things. So it's definitely not ideal, and I would love to be out there doing shows and performing right now. But I think it's about finding ways that I can still perform for people, but maybe not in person.
Yeah, because there are also lots of successful cases of
Yeah.
artists and bands that gets bigger on the internet, and then just from a month to another, there are total different people, bands,
Yeah, I
people.
think the internet is a super powerful place, and sometimes, like you said, your music can get really big online before you even do your first show, and then you do your first show and you're playing to a bigger room than you maybe would have been.
You also have directed video of Vipers, and it got my attention because I read that you want to be part of this creative process in a near future. You want to collaborate with any director they want, or you want, probably. So I like that because it seems like you want to be really, really involved in your music and the way people is going to see it, literally see it. Because so, what do you think there? This new wave of musicians nowadays are so self-sufficient because artists from our generation are always doing more than just a guy playing the guitar, you know?
Yeah, I think I think you kind of have to. I mean, for me, I enjoy being involved in every single process. But I think because we have the internet and it's so easy to access music whenever, and anyone can put music on online and get people to listen, I think you have to go that extra mile nowadays and do that extra work in order for your music to cut through. Because, like you said, just sitting down and playing the guitar or the piano and doing shows isn't doesn't it works, but you need to do all this other stuff around that as well to make sure that you're constantly getting your music in front of people. So I think the internet has a lot to do with that, but also I think as an artist you should want to um have to work for it and have your own ideas, because for me I would never want someone else to make my own art for me. I want to do it myself, and I want people. Yeah, I have my team, and my team helps assist the ideas that I already have. But I think what's important for me is that everything that I'm putting out into the world is like meaningful and like real.
This whole stuff that is going on in your life and in the world. How would you how would you say that 2020 is gonna change the perspective of teenagers and the way they express themselves now that they are more isolated and they have to use internet more than ever?
Yeah, I think it's gonna create online friendships, and people can use those friendships to collaborate with people all over the world. I think it's going to be hard for a lot of people who are used to being with friends all the time and being out and about and doing stuff. But I think, I mean, I hope that the main thing people will take away from it is that you really get time to plan where you want your life to go, what you want to do. You get time to sit with yourself and your own thoughts and work out all that kind of stuff. But I mean, there's definitely a downside to being isolated, because it can get lonely and depressing. But I think it's about being able to not let yourself like get into that headspace, or if you feel yourself falling into that headspace, it's about finding those ways to like push forward with it all.
Okay, and the last question before we go to the playlist is what is the which advice would you give from a new artist to another new artist who wanna like find their own voice and trying to put it into their music?
Yeah, I would say I would say just take your time and write songs when you want to write songs. When you're inspired to write a song, write a song. that's what works for me anyway. I don't write music if I don't want to write music. I only ever write when I'm inspired or I want to write. Otherwise, for me, it's a wasted song because I will be forcing myself to write a song instead of just it coming naturally. I think if you truly want to write about something, it should be a natural process. And I don't think you should put too much pressure on, I have to write a song today. I think you should listen to a bunch of music, find out what artists you like and what sounds that you gravitate towards, and find, and in your head, like, think of ways that you can incorporate those sounds but make it your own, and how you can blur the lines between different genres and make something new and cool. But I think it's just about taking your time and making sure your music's at a place that you want it to be before you release it, and you're going to keep developing. For example, like, I'm working on my second project and the sound is developing even more, and I think yeah, just don't put too much pressure on it, and make the music that you want to make when you want to make it.
I said that was the last question, but now that you mentioned that second project, I want to ask you: is it a new EP or a new album, the first album, or you just don't know it yet?
I don't know what it is yet. I'm just writing a bunch of music. I don't know if it's an EP or an album. But yeah, I'm not putting too much pressure on it just now, but I should be hopefully finishing it in the next couple months.